excited to be here. Creativity is a lot like this balloon. We get excited about an idea, or in my case, what to wear today, and then doubts start. Who knew I looked like a banker? And then we get excited again, inspired. Back to the closet I go. And this time I pick out an outfit that's a bit more artistic. But then worry and judgment starts. What will people think? It kind of looks like a costume. What if I look foolish? To finally getting brave. This is it. I'm going to make this decision, get comfortable in my skin, and comfortable with failing forward. My intent today is to get you excited about creativity, help you quiet those fears, and help you combat creative claustrophobia. So you ready to let all that pent-up creativity out? Let's do it. I've always been interested in creativity. I've been told that I am that, creative, but to be honest, I've never seen myself that way or understood what makes one person more or less creative than the next. Creativity has always been spoken about as something that only a few special people have, or that it's as elusive as the Holy Grail. And that's always confused me. Maybe it's because I don't see creativity as something unattainable. Rather, I think it's something that we all do daily, maybe without even thinking about it. I see creativity as nothing more than problem solving and seeing problems as opportunities. Early in my teaching career, I read about a study involving 1,600 students, 3 to 5 years in age, and they studied them on tested them on creativity and lateral thinking. Lateral thinking being the ability to use your imagination to look at a problem in a fresh way and come up with a new solution. Incredibly, 98% of those 3 to 5-year-olds scored at the genius level. I'm going to let you think about that for a second. Out of a room of 100 people, that means 98 of you were considered to be a genius. But when they retested those students at age 25, only 2%, 2 of you, continued to score at that level. What happened? Evidently, we were all born with it, we had it, we used it, but somehow we lost it. How did we learn to unlearn creativity and lateral thinking? Well, there are outside factors that affect us, but today I'd rather concentrate on the internal factors that I think we can control and help you to combat creative claustrophobia. Well, believe it or not, I wasn't an easy child to raise. I hear laughter, you know my parents. I was filled with curiosity, asked tons of questions and why, and made lots and lots of suggestions, much to the frustration of my mother. And one day, in a moment of frustration, she said, "It doesn't matter how you get to the end result, as long as it's the end result that was expected." I thought that was a pretty great idea, and I took full advantage of that at every opportunity. One of those situations was when I was asked to wash the sliding glass doors. I took all day to wash those doors. I tried vinegar, water, Windex, newspaper, a cloth, anything I could find to see which would clean it the best. And after several hours and many messes, my mother had finally had enough. And she yelled, "Just wash the window and be done!" And I was so confused and upset because I couldn't figure out why was she so angry. I mean, she's the one that told me it didn't matter how I did the job as long as I got to the end result that was expected. It was the first time that I realized my brain doesn't work like my mother's, and that thinking in multiple solutions isn't the norm. It was the start of creative claustrophobia, and in times I started to doubt myself. Now, I think all of you can think back to a time where you problem solved freely. You just did it, and you had fun, and it didn't matter what the outcome was. But somewhere along the lines, as we aged, outside factors start to affect us. We start to doubt. Our thoughts become trapped. We become boxed in. Creative claustrophobia. So it's been my experience that when creative claustrophobia happens, that it starts negative mind chatter. What I'd like to do today is help you learn how to practice to control that. So what are some of those factors? Well, self-doubt, the belief that I'm not creative, I can't, everyone else is. Judgment of what others think, and negative mind chatter. Fear, whether it's valid or perceived, and failure. Well, we all know what that is. So the first one, doubt, and the belief that I'm not creative, I can't, everyone else is, in my opinion, is just bunk. If you subscribe to the basic idea that creativity is nothing more than problem solving, then I would tend to bet that all of you have been creative today already. You picked out what to wear, you decided what to have for breakfast. You multitasked and you coordinated the schedules of family, friends, work. And you even had to find a parking spot in a really full parking lot today. Each of those required you to come up with a number of different options, make a decision, and implement it. Problem solving, lateral thinking equals creativity. So let's put that to rest. You all are creative. Judgment. Now that's a biggie, because judgment can come in the form of friends and family and we're telling us that we're not good enough. And then we start to hear those voices in our head. Now, some of those voices in your head are for good, like the ones that tell you not to walk out into the middle of the street in front of a moving car, or there's a creepy guy following you on the sidewalk, stranger danger types of things. Listen to those voices. But the other ones, the ones that tell you that that idea is bad, what if I look foolish? What if it's dumb? Those are the voices we need to silence. Negative mind chatter talks us all out of some really fantastic ideas, all because of the phrase, what will others think? It's been my opinion that if all it is that what are other people going to think, they're going to talk, right? So like Nike famously said, just do it. Embrace the risk and forget judgment and embrace the risk. Because it's been my experience, people talk anyway. Fear. Now fear is a double-edged sword. Fear can cause you to stop dead in your tracks, fight or flee. Or if you're an adrenaline junkie, it's the very thing that makes you feel alive. But in creativity and problem solving, fear is the freeze scenario. In a brainstorming activity, it causes you to be quiet, even though your brain is bubbling with some really fantastic ideas. Fear will prevent you from being all in, because our brain is set up to use fear to keep us safe. But sometimes we just have to jump in and see what happens. Sometimes you just have to burn your boat. So legend has it that the ancient Greek warriors understood this idea. And when the ancient Greeks would go to their enemy's shores, the first order the commanders would give would be to burn the boats. Now the commanders understood the value of motivation and necessity. With no boats to retreat to, the armies had no choice but to survive. So, as those soldiers watched the boats burn, they knew there would be no turning back, there would be no retreat. They had to fight to survive. I mean, I think all of us can think of a time where we were fearful, and we missed opportunities because of that fear. Relationships we didn't pursue or end. Career opportunities we didn't take because it had been more comfortable the way we had always been. Or even hopes and dreams that we put aside because we were worried about what someone else might think or say. We all just have to be brave. Sometimes you have to just swan dive into the abyss. It's okay to be afraid, but realize that you have to act anyway. You have to believe that you are capable of creative thought and that your ideas truly are of value. And lastly, failure. The biggest fear we all have. We've all heard the phrase, if at first you don't succeed, try again. That's pretty easy to say, but not always easy to do. One of my very favorite Disney movies, Meet the Robinsons, has a great scene about failure that I absolutely love. The main character, Lewis, attempts to create a peanut butter and jelly gun. But when he goes to test it for his family, he is met with a peanut buttery disaster. He is instantly embarrassed and devastated and heartbroken that he failed. But instead of laughter and anger, his family greets him with, "You failed and it was fantastic! Awesome! Outstanding!" I've seen better. But the best line of the movie is delivered by Aunt Billy, and she says, through failure you learn. From success, not so much. And then the epic line, keep moving forward, is delivered. And they're exactly right. Fail forward. Not every idea you have is going to work, but hopefully through that failure, another idea will happen, and it'll give you an opportunity, then another idea will be generated, and hopefully a success will occur. But honestly, what's the worst thing that can happen? It's self-correcting and you learn not to do that again? That's failing forward, learning. When you face adversity and you come out the other side, you gain courage and confidence. Creativity is built from curiosity, of brainstorming. What else could it be? And of failure. Some of my favorite failure stories are the inventors who try to discover some great new something, but then by accident they discover something else. One of those is the Swiss engineer who took his dog for a walk. And while he was out on this walk, when they came home, he found that the dog was full of burrs. So he was curious about why the burrs stuck so well. He put one under a microscope, and what he discovered was that the burrs were actually little hooks. From that observation came the idea for Velcro. During this gentleman's life, over 60 million yards of Velcro per year were sold. Not too bad for a guy who's just simply trying to figure out why the burrs stuck to the dog. And there are so many of those. Post-it notes, super glue, Sharknado. I mean, seriously, who thought they'd make more of those movies? You can laugh, awesome! All of those people faced huge risk, potential failure, but in the end, had a great success. All because of an idea that took a twist, a left turn. Success or fail forward. Now, I tried to think of a personal failure story of my own. But the problem is, I couldn't think of one. And it's not because my life was golden or perfect. It's just that my life continued to take a series of left turns. And I chose to see those opportunities, see those as opportunities, not failure, which is really just a matter of perception. You see, I started out with a strong plan, and that was to be a teacher. But a series of left turns would happen, and I had to change my plans. So, in my first teaching job, I was voluntold to do yearbook pictures. I had never held a camera before in my life, so I had to teach myself photography. And after a bit, I decided to teach photography to my special education students through an innovative teaching grant. And from there, I discovered I had a skill and a talent that I never realized I had. So, I decided to leave a career in teaching of 13 years to open a photography studio. Now, this is the hard part. To my parents, they saw that as a failure. I wasn't doing everything I was set out to do or talked about doing, teaching. To the average person, it could be perceived I was wasting 4 years of education and a master's degree. To my husband and my children, I was putting them at financial risk, leaving a well-paying job and a long-time career. But to me, it was a great adventure. It was a scary one, but it was an adventure. And I burned my boat, and I have never looked back. So, it happens that I need to leave a larger studio that I absolutely loved and had super cool sets to move to a smaller location. And once in that location, I get frustrated. I don't have the sets that I needed. And there was nothing to differentiate me from the rest of the crowd anymore. So I got to brainstorming and thinking, and I saw these giant stickers, bat heads, and then a catalog that had all kinds of football fields and arenas and things like that in it. And suddenly it came to me, what would happen if I put the two ideas together and made giant stickers of my images and had them put on foam walls so that I could flip that wall and have a different set on the back? That would give me the flexibility I was missing. It was a studio that other studios didn't have as far as backgrounds. solve my space constraint issue. So the idea evolved pretty quickly, and albeit before I knew it, I had a background company. And it was innovative in the photography world. And soon other big companies were starting to copy the idea. But all of this happened because I had a problem I needed a solution to. It turns out other photography studios were having the same problem. So, a fail forward with kind of a happy accident twist. So, research says if you want to truly be creative, you have to practice lateral thinking. From our brain's perspective, the best way to do that is to think quickly, like really, really fast, hot potato fast. So, when we think that quickly, what happens to our brain is we then have to rely on the intuitive subconscious parts of our brain, and when we do that, it stops that negative mind chatter. So I'm going to have you guys do an activity with me. It's one of my favorite. It's a simple activity, but it's a group activity, so you have to help me. We're going to put an image up on the screen. I'm going to have you look at it, think about all the things it could be, and then I want you to shout out your answers. Are you ready? What is it? What else could it be? Oh, louder, louder. What else could it be?
Pupil. A black hole.
A black hole. What else could it be? Saturn. What else could it be?
A bug.
A bug. What else could it be? An Oreo. What else could it be? Awesome. Awesome job, you guys. My wish for you, my creatives, is this. That you do one thing every day that scares you. That you burn a bridge. That you fail forward and have happy accidents. But most of all, you always ask yourself, what else could it be?